So we're going to get started. So I've titled this University Without a Diploma, and that's the way we're going to frame it tonight, even though it's titled something else, Homeschooling High School. But I want to run through all the options for you tonight that, yes, both universities in Alberta, the big ones, you can get in without a diploma. So we will talk about that. So thank you for joining us. My name is Judy Arnall, and I'm a certified Canadian family life educator, and I'm a bit of an idealist in that I read recommendations and go to conferences on best practices in parenting and education. But I don't always follow it myself. I'm a realist. I have 5 kids that range in age from 16 to 26, and I have 4 boys and a princess in the middle. And 3 of my kids have graduated university in English major, and nursing, and in electrical engineering. And I have another son who's there in biochemistry, and I have another son who we're bringing through high school. I never thought I would homeschool through high school, but every year you ask your kids, well, what do you want to do? And some years they wanted to go to school, try it out, and by October they were done. So we'd always default back to homeschooling. If someone told me years ago I'd be homeschooling high school, I would tell them they are crazy because my math ends at grade 7. Same with my science. But you have help. You don't go it alone. Okay, so these are the courses I teach, and I've written 4 print books now. One is on parenting anger and stress and how to get a grip. One is on parenting discipline and how to discipline without any punishments. And they've been translated into different languages. And I have new books out. Yay! I have Attachment Parenting Tips from Toddlers to Teens, which is a book not on theory, but just solutions. 356 pages of ideas and tips for all ages. And then my new book is coming out September 1st. It's already up on Amazon. You can pre-order it. It's Unschooling to University. And it follows 30 kids who are my friends' friends or my friends' kids who unschooled and got into post-secondary. Okay, so let's get to the meat. There are basically 4 education choices in the land of Alberta. 3 of them are school, and 1 of them is home education. So 3 of them, pretty well, you have to follow the School Act and all its rules and regulations. And the other one is home education, where you tend to follow the home education regulations. Now, although they're embedded in the School Act, they sort of guide people who are home educating. So in the 3 school choices, everybody follows the Alberta Program of Studies, and the school controls. That's big. In home education, we can follow the Alberta Program of Studies at high school level or even through the grades, or we could follow the student learning outcomes, which I tend to call the SOLO. So it's student learning outcomes for home education programs that do not follow the Alberta Program of Studies. Now, when you're looking at high school online, all 3 of these school choices provide online high school. Now, a lot of people think online high school is home education. It's not. The generic catch-all term is homeschooling. Home education is absolutely parent-student controlled. Every 3 other options here are school controlled only. The parent and student have no say in these, including online correspondence and distance education. I hope that's clear, absolutely clear. So keep that in mind. The only thing parents and children have control over is this bottom right-hand corner, home education at the high school level. Now, can you get a diploma through that? Absolutely, yes, you can. Now, there's a lot of school boards that say no. but yes, you can. And that is the importance of having an unbiased presentation, and for you to know your home education regulations. Absolutely, because it's in there. Now, if you remember Inspiring Education, that is still within Alberta Education. It's a little buried now since the change of government, but it is still moving from teaching kids content to teaching kids competencies. And that ministerial order made it into law on May 2013. So there's 10 subject areas, broad subject areas within the 3 E's: engaged thinker, entrepreneurial spirit, and ethical citizen. It's still there, but it's kind of hard to find. Okay, let's look at your choices, because I think it's all about choice. Hang on, I'm just going to close the door here. The cat's bugging me. Okay, so whereas grade 1 to 9 is grades, in grade 1 to 9, there's 1,400 outcomes per grade across 6 subject areas. And if you follow the Alberta Program of Studies, you check off 1,400 outcomes. High school is different. Although it is categorized in grades, think of it as the courses you need. So if you go to the University of Alberta website or you go to University of Calgary, they do not stipulate you need a high school diploma. In fact, my electrical engineer did not get his diploma until second year university. He was so funny. The day he got it, he said, "Yay, I graduated!" And all his friends go, "What? What do you mean you only got your diploma? How'd you get here?" So absolutely not. What kids need, and I'll show you where you need it, is 4 pretty well core subjects, and the 5th subject can be an option, or maybe a second science, or maybe a language, depending on what they go into. Okay, it all depends. Now, just a housekeeping thing, I'm going to answer questions at the end, so I will definitely go through them. I just want to get through this, and then we'll leave it open. I'll try and get through this really fast. So again, grade 1 to 9 is by grade outcomes, and grade 10 to 11 is by courses. Okay. I wonder if I got rid of this. Okay. Anyways, so you do not need a high school diploma for post-secondary entrance in certain universities and colleges. But having said that, it's your onus to check the requirements for the program you want to go into. Okay, if you want to get a high school diploma, probably if your child's going into a jobs, employers, they want to see your last credential. So for a lot of them, it's a high school diploma. Once they have a few years university, they don't want to see that. They want to see your last credential, which is your transcript from university. So if you're going for a high school diploma, you'll need 100 credits. You'll need COM, Phys Ed, 10 credits at CTS, Fine Arts, Phys Ed, Second Language, RAP, or everybody would need 15 credits, which is all the way from grade 10 to grade 12 in English, social, 10 credits in science, 10 credits in math, and 2 other 5-credit courses at the grade 12 level. That's what you need to get the diploma. Now, a lot of people think, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. I'm going to get my English at grade 12, my social at grade 12, my science at grade 12, my math at grade 12, and hey, I might be going into engineering, so I'll get a second science at grade 12. And that's all I'm going to do. And if you're over 19, that's all you have to do. You don't have to take grade 10 and 11 prerequisites. You can just go right to grade 12, especially if you've self-taught yourself. As a lot of unschoolers do, they self-teach. They get their learnings from things other than courses, so they don't need to take a course to get a mark. They can challenge exams. And that is so wonderful about Alberta because it is outcome-based. You don't, like a lot of other provinces, you don't have to take the course, just take the exam. Okay, so in high school, there's still 3 program types, although a lot of school boards will not advertise this. There, you can do traditional, parent-directed, where you're 100% responsible. You can do shared responsibility, which we used to call blended. And at high school, it's 20-80%. Either way, 20% parent or 80% parent. And 100% school is called distance education. Even though it's online, it is school. That is not homeschooling. Homeschooling, home education is parent controlled. Or it can be a physical school like high school too. Okay, so here are your options. You can either go the home education route, and you can do two things. You can complete 12 years of education under solo outcomes. So you don't want to follow the Alberta program of studies, don't want to teach your kids about evolution or that kind of stuff. That's fine. You can do that. And then you will be done government control by age 19. Your child will not get an Alberta government diploma. But if that's okay with you, that's okay. Now, under home education, you absolutely can get your child a diploma. Now, you do have to meet course outcomes under the Alberta Program of Studies, which means, yes, there's a lot of personalization, and if they already have the competencies, they can challenge it. So you can get 100 credits under the Home Education Regulations, Section 6, and you can graduate with a diploma. Section 6 says that any student under home education can apply to a principal to have course credit and marks granted upon their perusal of the coursework. Okay? Now, the other thing you can do, let's say you don't want to do all that work to get 100 credits. You can wait, so you can just bypass all that, wait till you're 19 or 20, and the child can challenge the diploma exam. They can study the key or the textbook for a year and go and write the exam. The exam will stand for 100% of their marks on grade 12. Or you can do school delivered via online or physical classes. So that's school controlled. You can meet the course outcomes, get your 100 credits, and graduate. So you do have choices, absolutely. Now, if you choose high school traditional parent directed, there's no CEU funding because there is no teacher. So there's no instructional grants. So basically the government is getting you to freely teach or the child to self-teach, and they don't have to pay for it. You're still funded under home education, which is this $16.70 you get per year. But it's important to remember the parent provides an education under the regulations, but not necessarily teaches, which means you can outsource the teaching. Like I said, my grade 7 ends, my math ends at grade 7. So I have to hire tutors or online courses from other countries to help my kids learn math and science. I just can't do that. Now, some high school board authorities offer shared responsibility, which is you pick the subjects you want to teach. So for example, I am okay teaching social studies, comm, phys ed, food studies, and language arts. I am nowhere near competent in math and science. So I outsource that part either to the school or to wherever else I want to go under home education, and I teach the parts I can teach. Now the school in Alberta, if they are teaching their part, they get CEUs, and they get a lot more funding to do it. Now, if your child takes 2 teacher courses on the school-directed side, it's pretty well sliding from traditional into blended, okay, or shared responsibility. Now, 100% shared school is called school. Distance education, school, aligned, teacher-directed, whatever you call it, it is school. So let's look at parent-directed home education high school. Okay, so again, like I said, you can either just finish the solo outcomes by age 20, you don't get a diploma, you don't get marks and credits, you keep Alberta education happy, and this is the most flexible option. But if you want your child to have marks and credits, and they do need marks and credits to go on to post-secondary, they don't need a diploma, but they need marks and credits for those 5 or 6 subjects. And it's more flexible than a school, but you still have to follow Alberta Program of Studies outcomes. You do have to, you can personalize it, but you still have to follow it. And like I said, this was the solo that if you don't want to follow the Alberta Program of Studies courses, you can just follow this. Okay, let's look at parent-directed for marks and credits. This has a lot of flexibility. So 19 years is the magic birth date. What your child is on September 1st of the year dictates what they can do. If they're under 19 years, they have to provide a course mark. To get a course mark, they have to provide course work. Yes, so your home education supervisor has to see what your child's done. Now, you can purchase ADLC materials, you can purchase, like I said, courses from another country, you can purchase just the textbooks and teach out of there, or you can purchase other courses. However, you need to get your child learning. If they're over 19 years, there's no coursework needed. Or if they already have a diploma, they can write the diploma exam and it counts for 100% marks and credits. Or if their combined mark, if they've previously done it, their course and their exam mark is higher, Alberta Education will take the higher mark. And they get retroactive credits with a P for pass at the 10 and 11 levels. Who supports parent-directed high school marks and credits? This is the yes people, and this is the no people. So if you're going to the open houses, it's open house season, I would suggest you ask the school authorities why they don't offer Section 6 under home education regulations and see what they say. So this is a detailed academic report. So once your child reaches high school, this is where your school authority reports the marks, the course code, the course, the level, the mark, the credit, the year they took it, the school that is reporting the marks, and what their school mark is, and in the case of diploma exams, what the exam mark is. So this is a running record of what they've been doing. This is for every student in Alberta gets one of these at high school level. And like I said, high school's a buffet, so you'll have a lot of school codes there if your child takes a course through different schools, through different grades. Now this is what a transcript looks like. So Alberta Education takes your DAR and translates it to a high school transcript. So on here, it tallies your credits, if you got a diploma, and all your courses. So your course term, your school code, as you can see here. My son did a lot of different schools reporting credits. And the course code, it has a distinct course code. And that's important because when you go to post-secondary, they match the course codes to what they know of in grade 12 and what it translates to for them. Then there's the course name, how many credits earned, what the mark, school mark was, what the exam mark was. And then they take, it used to be 50-50, and that would be the final mark. And this says if it's an honors standing. If you're over 80% on those course marks, it's honors. Why don't school boards support parent-directed? Well, I always say a child's best interest should never be about funding. It really shouldn't, but too bad it is. So again, if a child's age 20 on September 1st, they have two routes. They can take a grade 12 class, but pay $600. Like those are post-secondary fee equivalents. And their mark will be 100%. Or depends if they do better on the course. They do not need to take prerequisites if they're age 20 on anything. Or they could just go in and write the diploma exam. Costs $26. So homeschoolers need flexibility. We want to do the courses we need and get credit for the ones we don't need. And it's not that we're looking for shortcuts, but we want to be we don't want to duplicate things. So for example, if my daughter was, she was an early reader, she loved writing, she did a lot of her own reading, writing, read books on character development, storylines. She could write. She wrote 3 novels by the time she took her English 30-1. So what's the point of her actually doing the coursework? That would have been redundant. So what she did was she wrote 4 essays as her coursework and then wrote the diploma exam. And she got 84% on her diploma exam. So really, do we need to duplicate work? Okay. So homeschoolers do not want special privileges or shortcuts, but we want recognition for all the learning that takes place in home and not just within a 125-hour course shell. So high school is 25 hours per credit. So a 5-credit course would be a semester or 125 hours of instruction. Okay, so is it legal? Absolutely. It's under the Section 6 Home Education and Regulations. So methods and resources. So what you can do to teach those courses is get the textbooks, the library books, websites, games, movies, documentaries, online courses. There's a lot of ways to cover off high school. One of those ways, I've been in a few of these, is get a group together. So if your child is going into grade 10, get together with a bunch of other parents whose kids are going into grade 10, and anywhere from like 5 to 12 kids is a nice little class. You could either hire a teacher and split the costs for the term, or you could have the parents teach or facilitate the learning. And then you submit what you've done, and your school authority can report marks and credits. My only caution here is be very clear on outcomes, because we did that. I had 2 boys do the same group, and one school authority said it was a 20-1 level, and the other said it was 20-2. So you want to get that up front. Okay, now the mommy mark. Absolutely, parents do give the mark on about 70% of the course mark, and we call that parent-directed assessment. Realistically, the parent-given mark should be within 10% of the exam marks. Like, it should be pretty close. I know at diploma exam level, the government does look for huge differences between diploma exam and course marks on a school basis. So these are things you could look at to give a mark. Yeah. Okay, so again, why parent-directed? Because the course marks are now worth 70% rather than 50% if they're under age 19. So the beauty about parent-directed high school is you have leeway and flexibility. So for example, if your child's batteries run out in their exam in a school, they may not get to finish their tests, whereas if they're under a proctor, they probably can. If your student is shy of discussions, maybe put more emphasis on the written work, or vice versa. They're marked on non-course parts of the course. For example, reflections on learning. Every online course my kids took, they had to do their reflections of learning. They were gagging at the end, like, oh, how many more times do I have to tell a teacher what my learning style is? It's like redundant after you do it for a while. If your child dislikes labs, maybe they could do more experimentation somewhere else. Or if they dislike King Lear, maybe they want to do Hamlet. Or if they prefer exams over written work. There's a lot more choices when it's parent-directed. If it's school-directed, requirements are set in stone. They will not allow you much personalization because, well, can't do that for everybody. Okay, so here's a comparison. If you look at Chemistry 30, I pulled this off CBE Learn website. It's public. There are 36 assessments they assess on. In parent-directed, what you could do is get your child to read the last 4 chapters of chemistry, get them to work through their answers, do some experiments, write the exam bank unit tests and the final exam, and they're done. They got it. So they don't have to do a lot of busy work. They can put their effort into learning. Okay, so I think it's really good that we do have diploma exams because you can prove learning without having to take courses. So how high school works. Each high school course, like I said, is 1 to 5 credits, and 1 credit is 25 hours. So each grade is laid out about 35 credits. And here's your planning sheet. You can pull these off Alberta Education. They just tell you what the requirements are. The -1 is university level. If your child is going to university, they have to absolutely have English 30-1. That is the one course that is not negotiable. -2 is a lot of colleges and technical, and -3 is for trades and work. Now, there are variations. So, for example, a lot of kids are either math and sciencey or English and socially. So if my kids who were math and sciencey didn't do well with a lot of writing, so they took the -2 for social studies, and they still got into their STEM placements in university. So it depends on your child. You do have some leeway there. I'm not going to go into this too much because I don't want to take up much time here, but there are different stipulations here. For example, in science, your 10 credits could also be for grade 10 and science 14. They would not have to go to the grade 11 level. Science and math have a common entry point. Okay, can parents override teachers' recommendation for course selection? Yes, parents have a right to direct their child's education, whether in a physical school or home education. How long does high school take? Well, if you do 2 or 3 cores and some options, it takes about 1.5 to 3 hours a day, depending on how slow your child works. And then that's it. They're done for the day, so it gives them a lot of time to explore their passions. Everybody has to write social and English if they're going to get a diploma. You can write 4 times a year. If you don't like your child's mark, you can re-register them in August to write them at SAIT for $26. And their marks are still reported in time for university. Okay. Post-secondary, we talked about that. Okay, here's a screenshot from you, Vic. A lot of post-secondaries, what they want is an outside evaluation of your child's program, okay? You can call up the smaller universities and say, can we talk? What is required? We're homeschoolers, that kind of thing. For a lot of the bigger universities, it's a little harder to do that because the kids apply online. Now, upgrading. If your child's over 19 years and needs to upgrade, they can either do it at a high school level or through post-secondary preparation. High school level, if it's like Chem 30 and it's called Chem 30, it's eligible for scholarships. But if they take Chem 30 at a university, that's not eligible. Okay, keep in mind, after age 20 on September 1st, children are no longer funded under Alberta Education. So parents have to pay, or the student has to pay the full course cost, okay? But you can start earning credits from about age 14 to 15 for high school. You could actually do high school in 5 years. A lot of school authorities will not report it until that child is technically grade 10 or age 15, 16, but you can save up the coursework and report it later. Okay, where do you get curriculum if you're going to do this? You can purchase any course materials through Alberta Distance Learning or online places. You can get your board to do it for a discount. And yes, okay. We talked about that and that. Okay, how to begin parent directed. Well, you register in the traditional home education program. You print off the Alberta Ed outcomes for the course, and you prepare Bookends, which is a proposal, and you submit it with your education plan by September 30th. Then you follow through. The child teaches himself the course, or you teach the course, and then you prepare the second bookend, which is the summary for the facilitator and a portfolio of all the work. And some boards want to see a 30% exam, so a little bit of impartiality there. This is what the bookends look like. This is our proposal for English 30-1. As you can see, we took 4 months, usually 4 months for a high school semester. And this is what we said we'd do. Now, this is pretty standard for English 10, 20, and 30. Kids have to do poetry, short stories, nonfiction, see a live play, keep a journal, see a variety of multimedia stuff, read a novel. One novel, we put 2 in here. Write a personal response essay, write a critical analysis essay, write a poem, write a Shakespeare response, and practice the exam bank questions to understand literary devices. These are all the resources we put down we were going to use, and these are things we get funded for. So when we submit our funding, that's what we're going to do. At the end of the course, so 4 months later, this is what we said we did along with samples of the work. And then this is the parent given mark. This is how many hours we put. And keep in mind that although this is a parent given mark, it has to meet approval of your principal. Okay. One thing I know is kids still need adult support. So for timing, if you just say, okay, go do this course, a lot of times they need overall check-ins to see if they're on track. We put all our work in little course binders like this. And these are your best things. The key is just so wonderful. It covers the key concepts in each course that you need, and the snap gives practices too, as well as the textbooks for each course. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through the core courses. If you want, I'm going to do this fast, but if you want more information, feel free to hire me. I'm a consultant. So English 10, 20, 30, pretty well same content, but gets more harder. The writing gets more expectations as you go along. So it's not different content, it builds skills on each grade. These are your textbooks for grade 10 and 11 and grade 12. Now, there is an approved resources list at Alberta Education for your novels, your short stories, and your films. Social. Again, like English, same topics, whether it's -1 or -2. -1 is more academic writing preparation for university. These are your textbooks, grade 10, 11, and 12 for -1. Grade 10, 11, and 12 for -2. Math. Now, pretty well everybody takes the same Math 10 course, and from there you stream. If you're going to jump between streams, you may have to pick up a course or two just to prep. My kids had to do that, but that's okay. This is grade 11 and grade 12. If they're heading for a STEM career in university, they take that. If they're heading for more of a work path, they would take these twos, and then Math 31 is calculus. So here's your progression through math. So pretty well common math and -1. If they're going into a STEM career, they pretty well need -1. If they're going into arts or humanities in university, -2 is fine. But check for the university, I'm not. Okay, Science 10. Everybody starts with common Science 10, and then you branch out into your specialty. So if you're going into more humanities in the university, a lot of kids take biology. If you're going more into the STEM, you have to present two sciences. So for nursing, it'd be biology and chemistry. For engineering, it'd be physics and chemistry. So that would be your 5th course, presenting course marks. Chem 20 and 30, the topics build. So grade 11, grade 12 builds on grade 11. So it's a little hard to challenge just a grade 12 course unless you have a chemistry whiz. Same with physics. Biology is standalone. So parent directed, you get the textbook, you get the kids to read it, work out the questions, use exam bank or the key, do the review questions, the unit exams, one final, and in grade 12, the diploma. Done. Biology 20, 30, the topics are independent. So my one son didn't do Bio 20. He was over age 20. He just had to do the 30. where his brother had to do both. And physics, they do build. Career and life management. If you're going for a diploma, you might want to do this. There's 3 parts. There's careers, finance, personal choices. You can do lots of things here. You can do a unit on sexuality. This is a sperm bank. You can do tests on multiple intelligences or conflict resolution. There's lots of ways to do this one. You can read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. We did this. We did a resume. We did Myers-Briggs. We did a career profile online. We went to visit open houses. We did a budget. And we did a course on interpersonal communication and read the book. Easy peasy. Okay, whereas if you do this online, there's 35 things you have to do, which is a lot. Now, what if your kids are stuck and you can't help? That's every parent's fear. What do? You hire tutors, or you host a peer-to-peer study group, or there's tons of online videos. There's Khan Academy. I think most of my kids got through math and science through that. Spark Notes for English and social. How do you get textbooks? You can rent or purchase from ADLC. No, you can rent. I don't know if you can purchase still. You can borrow them, beg and borrow from your school authority, or you can buy used off Amazon. I find I buy used textbooks, I can pretty well sell them for the same price. Okay, how to access course modules. Just Google Alberta Science 10. It gets you modules. It can get you the outcomes you need to do. And a lot of teachers put their ideas and course units up on the internet. So that's kind of neat too. For foods, what we do is we would make the food, make a little sign, and take a picture and record the hours. And the outcomes for CTS courses and options are all on the website. Okay, and the key, we would do practice exams in the key. That was really helpful. Okay, so you have a buffet of options. You can do art, you can do phys ed, you can do CTS courses, you can do phys ed grade 11 and 12, you can do French, you can do rep, you can do all those things at home. We did food studies because that was the easiest, and we would just take pictures of what they made. Don't you like our little chess case cake there? Phys ed, we did pictures, we wrote an essay summary of learnings, that kind of stuff. Phys ed 10 is a core course if you're going to go for a diploma, not Phys ed 20 or 30. Work experience, we did volunteering at the food bank. We had a teen group volunteering. We did other volunteering through junior forest wardens, whatever you volunteer through. And we just kept photographs, we kept logs of time. And then special projects is there's 15 credits you can do on your passion, whatever your passion is. So at 10, 11, and 12 level. So we did that too, took pictures, logged time, wrote a summary essay. And we just did a lot of pictures. Yeah. Art, we did the same thing. Okay, now if you just want to do school, you can do online. A lot of online schools just read, write the quizzes, write the exam. So there's not a whole lot of interactive teaching there. If a lot of kids are not online learners. Some places offer correspondence, but again, that might be a lot of writing. Or you could do a physical classroom. Until they're age 20, they could go to Chinook Learning and have a physical class. Or they could go to the CTS Center at CVE for options. That might be a good idea for kids too. Or you know what? You can send them to the neighborhood high school and sign up for a year. It's all or nothing though. Or they could just apply at Athabasca University at age 16, do 2 years, and then be a transfer student. Now, the thing too is keep in mind you could chunk by year. So for example, if you do high school in 5 years, at age 15, you could do all your grade 10 course through school, through online school. And then at age 16, you could go 100% parent-directed home ed and do all your extras, right? And no course. So you could spend the year doing that. And then at age 17, you could do mostly course, register as school. And then at 18, you could register as a blended and wrap up your course and any extras you need to do on the parent-directed side. So you don't have to. So for example, my son is doing all English and social, grade 10, 11, and 12, and then he's going to do his math and sciences. So keep in mind you can do that. If your child's not motivated, you can still delay high school until age 17, 18. They still have some time to get funded courses when they're ready. Absolutely, when they're ready. This is their executive function development. As you can see, the last big push in that executive function is around age 18. That's when kids become more serious about their future and they really get motivated on working to it. Okay, if you have a child with special needs, get documentation for grade 12 because post-secondaries want your documentation within 3 years of applying, and get to know your accessibilities offices. They are wonderful. They have lots of help for you. What is post-secondary really like? Well, they take attendance. Most post-secondaries have really small numbers of assessed items. In high school, an online course, your child would be marked on 46 things. In university, it might be just like 16 at the most. Most often, it's 3 to 4 major assignments, either exams or papers. And yes, they're worth from 50 to 90% of your course mark because they have to cut down on cheating. And with handwritten, a lot of times computers are not allowed unless they have an IPP. So get them handwriting. Now, to apply, you're applying through Apply Alberta. So that is one portal, and then every post-secondary in Alberta will pull the transcript from Apply Alberta. So what you do is your child applies, sets up a profile here. They input all the courses they've taken, and they have to put the Alberta Education course. The field is defaults to the course name and code that Alberta Education assigns to it. So if you want to say that you taught Bio 30 and your school authority did not report a mark or credit for that, it won't show up here. Okay, that's important. It has to be gone through Alberta Education. Marks and credits must be reported, even though you're parent directed, to Alberta Education. Okay, so what this does is it creates a profile, and as you can see, it says completed, in progress. So he was still working on these when we uploaded and applied to university. Okay, so this is the course field. So you apply where it's supervised, what course it is, are you done it, what your anticipated mark is, and what credit, and when do you think you'll complete it. Then you have to go back when you get your mark and update that. So your university may accept you in June, but by August, when you have to complete your profile, they may say, sorry, you don't meet our competitive average. So just be aware that a parent-given diploma may not be accepted. Some colleges and vocations will accept it, but all Alberta post-secondaries will pull this transcript direct from Alberta Education, and they don't want it to go through your hands. The good news is that this was interesting. My son applied to U of C, and where it asks about IB, International Baccalaureate or Advanced Placement Test, it also asks if you self-studied, which is kind of nice. Yay! So there's no shortcut. Students must have competencies because a lot of universities have their own entrance exams. So be sure your child knows the coursework. Okay, I'm not going to talk about social development, but I'm going to end here and just say you can enjoy high school your way. You can absolutely get a diploma through parent-directed home education. You can also not get a diploma and get your way to universities with just a certain number of prescribed courses. So there are lots of options. Alrighty, well, thank you for joining me. And what I'm going to do is just turn off the recording here, and I'm way open to taking questions. So if you would like some personalized consultation or help, feel free to email me, and I would be happy to sell my time to you. So thanks a lot again.